If you've ever worked retail, you know what kind of strange people walk through those sliding doors. But there's something different about Walmart, something about those fluorescent lights at 3 a.m., the quiet aisles, the cameras that don't always catch what they should. Most people think the creepiest part of the store is the customers, but ask anyone who's worked the night shift and they'll tell you it's the silence. Because when the registers stop beeping and the store feels too big, too empty, you start to notice things. Footsteps down closed aisles, a voice on the intercom that no one turned on, a shadow moving behind the stockroom door. These are 7 true Walmart employee horror stories, stories from workers who thought they'd seen everything until something saw them back. If you've ever stayed late after closing, you'll understand what they mean. So turn off the lights, put your phone face down, and listen carefully. Because after this, you might never walk into a Walmart the same way again. Story 1. Night Shift Stalker. I used to work the night shift at a Walmart just off Highway 62. It wasn't a bad job, quiet, steady, predictable. Until last winter, that's when the stalker started showing up. It began small. I'd noticed someone standing near the entrance after closing, a tall figure, hood pulled up, face hidden in the shadow of the parking lot lights. At first, I thought it was just a late customer. We'd wave them off, lock the doors, and go back to cleaning up. But they kept coming back. Every few nights, same spot, same time. Never moving closer, never saying a word. One night, our manager told me to check the outdoor carts before clocking out. It was around 2:30 a.m. Cold. The kind of cold that makes the air sharp in your lungs. I walked out with the key to the cart bay. That's when I saw him again. Only this time, he wasn't by the door. He was standing between the cars, closer than before. Still, watching. The parking lot lights flickered above him. For a second, I could have sworn his head tilted, like he was trying to get a better look at me. I yelled, told him the store was closed. No response. He just turned and disappeared between the rows of cars. When I came back inside, security said the cameras didn't catch anything. Every time the figure showed up, that section of the footage glitched out. It became a pattern, always between 2 and 3 a.m., always near the same entrance. Then came the night we called the cops. I was restocking chips in aisle 17 when I noticed movement at the end of the row, someone tall wearing the same hooded sweatshirt. I froze. Sir, store's closed. No response, just silence. I started walking toward the end of the aisle, but when I turned the corner, it was empty. Except for one thing. A shopping cart pushed halfway out of the shadows, and inside it, a folded Walmart vest. Mine. I hadn't even realized mine was missing. The name tag was still attached. I backed up slowly, heart pounding, and then the intercom crackled on. A voice whispered, so soft I almost missed it. You left your shift early. We checked the cameras again later, all static, every single one. The police never found anyone. They said it was probably some prankster, someone messing with employees. But I quit the next morning. And sometimes, when I drive past that parking lot on my way home, I still see him. Standing in the same spot, under the same flickering light. Like he's still waiting for me to clock back in. Story 2. Creepy Customer Returns. I worked the customer service desk at Walmart for almost 3 years. Most nights were routine returns, complaints, exchanges, people arguing about receipts. But there was one customer I'll never forget. He came in every Thursday, always around the same time, 8:30 p.m. Tall guy, thin, wore a gray coat that looked too heavy for summer. He never smiled, never blinked much either. He'd always buy the same thing, a single disposable phone. Then, a week later, he'd come back to return it. Every time. He'd say the same thing too. Didn't work. I started to recognize the pattern, serial numbers, payment type, even the way he held the box like it was something fragile. After his 5th return, I finally asked what was wrong with the phones. He looked up at me, and his eyes didn't match the rest of his face. They were empty, flat. He said, "They keep answering." I laughed, thinking he was joking, but he didn't. He leaned forward a little and whispered, "When I turn them on, someone's already on the other end." I didn't know what to say. He just stared at me for a few seconds, then left without his refund. That night, I mentioned it to my manager. He told me the guy's been flagged before. Apparently, he's been doing this for months, at different locations. We brushed it off until he came back again. Same coat, same box, but this time his hands were shaking. He slid the unopened phone across the counter and whispered. It rang this time. I looked down. The package seal was still intact. No way it could have been used. I told him that, but he just smiled a slow, wrong kind of smile. "You'll see." Then he left. Didn't ask for a refund. Didn't take the phone back. That was the last time I saw him in person. A week later, I was closing up the service desk when I heard a phone ringing. Not the store phone. A different tone coming from one of the return bins. When I opened it, there it was. The same disposable phone. Still sealed, still wrapped in plastic, but ringing. I didn't want to touch it, but it wouldn't stop, so I picked it up and held it to my ear. There was breathing on the other end. Slow, heavy. I said hello. The voice whispered, "You shouldn't have answered." Then it hung up. The line went dead. We sent the phone to corporate security. They said it wasn't connected to any carrier. No number, no service, no reason it should have been ringing. That night, I unplugged my own phone charger before going to bed. And around 2 a.m., my cell phone lit up on its own. No call, no notification, just a name flashing across the screen. Return pending. Story 3, Backroom Encounter. I used to stock shelves in the back of a Walmart in Kansas. If you've ever been back there, you know how big it feels. The aisles are tall, the lights hum constantly, and at night, it feels more like a warehouse than a store. Most nights, it was just me and one other worker. We'd scan boxes, move pallets, and try not to think about how quiet it got after midnight. One shift, I was restocking seasonal items, plastic pumpkins, fake cobwebs, stuff like that. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard someone walking behind me, slow, steady footsteps. I figured it was my coworker, so I didn't look up right away. But when I did, no one was there. I shrugged it off. Sound echoes in those back halls. But a few minutes later, I heard it again. Closer. This time, I turned around fast. Still nothing. Then I noticed a box cutter sitting on the floor. It wasn't mine. I called out, "Hey, anyone back here?" Silence. Just the hum of the fluorescent lights. I decided to head toward the loading bay. That's when I caught movement behind one of the tall racks. "Someone ducking out of sight." I froze, heart pounding. I called my coworker on the walkie. No answer. So I started walking slowly toward the rack. Each step echoed. My hand was shaking on the box cutter I carried. When I turned the corner, no one. Just a pallet half wrapped in shrink film. Then I noticed the plastic had been cut open from the inside. I stepped closer, and that's when I heard breathing. Low, right behind the pallet. I pulled the film back. There was a man crouched inside the stack of boxes, dirty clothes, greasy hair, eyes wide, like he'd been hiding there for days. He whispered, "Don't tell them I'm here." I stumbled back, nearly dropped the cutter. Before I could react, he bolted past me straight down the hallway and out the emergency exit. The alarm went off. We called security, but by the time they checked the cameras, he was gone. The footage showed him slipping through the receiving door hours before the store even opened. He must have been living there, sleeping between pallets, waiting until everyone went home. I didn't last much longer after that. Every time I stepped into the back room, I'd feel that same chill, like someone was still watching, still hiding, just out of sight. And sometimes, when the lights flicker in the far corner, I swear I can still hear the sound of breathing inside the walls. Story 4. Security Camera Horror. I worked in asset protection, basically Walmart's version of security. Most of the time, my job was to sit in a small office, watching a wall of cameras. It wasn't glamorous. Hours of empty aisles, sleepy customers, and bored employees. But one night, I saw something I still can't explain. It was a Sunday, just before closing. I was scanning through the camera feeds when one of them flickered. Camera 14, frozen foods. For a second, it looked like someone was standing there, tall, still, just staring at the camera. But the image glitched, and when it cleared, the aisle was empty. I rewound the footage, but it skipped the exact few seconds I needed, just static. I told my manager, but he brushed it off, probably a bug in the feed. I didn't think much of it until the next night. Same time, same camera, same glitch. Only this time, the figure was closer, halfway down the aisle, face still hidden by static. I tried zooming in, but the image froze again. When it came back, the figure was gone. I switched to the live feed. Nothing, so I sent an associate to check. She walked the entire aisle, said no one was there. But as she turned to leave, something moved behind her, just a blur like a shadow slipping out of frame. She didn't notice, but I did. That's when I started saving the footage myself, every night, same time, same aisle. The figure kept appearing, always closer to the camera, always facing it. Until one night, it wasn't there. I remember thinking maybe it was finally over, but then one of the monitors turned black. Camera 14 went offline. I leaned in to check the feed manually, and that's when I saw it. On the reflection of the glass, just behind my chair, the same tall shape, standing right behind me. I spun around, nothing. The office door was locked. I was alone. When I turned back, camera 14 came back online. The aisle was empty, except for one thing. The freezer door at the end was wide open. And inside the glass, just for a split second, a reflection. Someone holding a camera, filming me. Story 5, Parking Lot Terror. I used to work the late shift at a Walmart in Nevada, the kind that closes at midnight, where the last hour feels longer than the whole day. I was a cart pusher, so my nights usually ended outside in that huge, half-lit parking lot. You'd think it's quiet out there after hours, but it's not. The wind hums through the metal carts, the lights buzz, and every sound seems to echo twice. One night, I was gathering the last few carts near the far end of the lot. It was cold, just past midnight, and the sky was completely clear. That's when I saw her. A woman standing alone by the far corner of the lot. No car, no bag, just standing. I figured she needed help, so I called out, "Ma'am, you okay?" She didn't move. I got a little closer and realized she wasn't facing me. She was staring at one of the lampposts. Her head tilted slightly to the side, like she was listening to something. I stopped. The air felt wrong, too still. When I turned to grab my walkie, it crackled on by itself. Through the static, a voice whispered, "Don't talk to her." I froze, looked around. No one else in sight. When I turned back, she was gone. Just vanished. The spot where she'd been standing was completely empty. I thought maybe she'd gone inside, but when I walked closer, I saw something under the lamppost. A single shoe, women's, black, like it had been there for a long time. I started backing away, heart pounding. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, behind me. I turned around fast. No one. But every step I took, I could hear another pair matching mine. I broke into a run, didn't stop until I reached the cart bay near the doors. One of my coworkers looked at me, out of breath and pale. He said, "You saw her too, didn't you?" I didn't even answer. He pointed toward the security cameras above the doors, said sometimes, around midnight, they pick up a woman standing by the far lamppost. Always the same spot, always the same time, never moving. I quit a few weeks later, but I still drive past that Walmart sometimes. And every once in a while, I see that lamppost in the dark. And I swear, if you look close enough, you can still see her shadow just standing there. Listening. Story 6. The regular. When you work at Walmart long enough, you start to recognize the regulars. The mom who always argues over coupons, the guy who buys the same frozen dinners every night, and then there was him. We called him the regular. He came in almost every day, never bought much, just wandered the aisles for hours, always alone. Tall, mid-50s, gray jacket, black cap pulled low. He never spoke to anyone, never smiled, but somehow he always seemed to know when we were watching. If you looked his way, he'd stop walking, turn his head, just enough to let you know he saw you. It became kind of a running joke among employees. Don't make eye contact with the regular. But one night, it wasn't funny anymore. It was a Tuesday. Just before closing, I was zoning shelves in the toy aisle, alone, music playing softly over the speakers. Then I heard footsteps, slow, dragging slightly. I looked up, and there he was. The regular. Standing at the end of the aisle, not moving, just staring straight at me. I tried to smile, ask if he needed help, but he didn't answer. He turned and walked toward the back of the store, where the lights were dimmer. I watched him go, and for a second, I thought I saw something in his hand, a folded piece of paper. When I finished my section, I decided to check the aisle he went down, empty, except for that same piece of paper lying on the floor. I picked it up. It was a printed receipt, no items listed, no total, just one line at the bottom. "See you tomorrow." I felt a chill crawl up my back. I looked around. The store was quiet, too quiet. When I turned the corner, I saw him again, far down the next aisle, watching. I called for security, but by the time they arrived, he was gone. We checked the cameras. Every feed showed the aisle I was in, but not him. I was standing there, alone, talking to no one. I tried to brush it off. Maybe I imagined it, maybe stress. But the next morning, when I came back to work, there was a receipt waiting on the counter. Blank. Same message. "See you tonight." The manager said no one left it. No record in the register logs. Nothing. That was the last night I worked there. I didn't quit officially, I just stopped showing up. But one of my old coworkers called me last month, said a guy matching his description comes in some nights right before closing. Never buys anything, just wanders the aisles, then leaves a receipt at the counter. Every time, the same message at the bottom. See you soon. Story 7. Final story. I wasn't supposed to work that night. I was covering a shift for someone who called out sick. Graveyard, midnight to 6. Just me, a manager, and the overnight crew. By 2 a.m., the store was dead quiet. I was restocking near electronics when the power flickered once, then went out completely. Emergency lights came on dim, red, stretching shadows across the aisles. At first, we thought it was just a power surge. It happened sometimes during storms. But then the intercom crackled. Just static at first, then a voice. Low, distorted. It said, "Attention associates, we're closing now." I looked at my manager. He was pale. He hadn't touched the mic. We started checking the building, aisle by aisle, thinking maybe someone was playing a prank. That's when I noticed something off. Every cart in the front row lined up perfectly, like someone had just pushed them all inside. But we hadn't brought them in yet. I grabbed my radio, no signal, just white noise. Somewhere near the back, something fell a loud crash that echoed through the dark. We followed the sound to the stockroom door. It was open, just barely. The light inside was flickering, like the bulb was struggling to stay on. We stepped inside. Rows of pallets, boxes stacked high, the smell of dust and cold air. Then we heard it. Footsteps, slow, measured, coming from behind the shelves. "Hello," my manager called out. No answer, just the sound of someone breathing. We turned the corner and saw a figure. Tall, wearing a gray Walmart vest, but the name tag was scratched out. He wasn't moving, just standing there, facing the back wall. I said, "Sir, you can't be back here." Nothing. The air felt heavy, wrong. Then he turned. The face under the flickering light looked familiar, too familiar. It was me. Same uniform, same face, even the same cut on my hand from earlier that day. He smiled, and I swear, his lips moved just enough to mouth something. "See you soon." The lights went out completely. I ran, didn't stop until I was outside, breathing in the freezing air. The police showed up later, checked the cameras. Every feed from the night was blank, except one. Camera 14. It showed the stockroom, empty. Then, for just a few seconds, a figure walking through the dark. Not me, not my manager. Someone wearing a Walmart vest, with no name tag. Carrying a shopping cart filled with phones. All the disposable ones. One by one, they started to ring. Maybe you've worked a night shift before. The hum of the lights. The silence after closing. The strange feeling that you're not alone. For most people, Walmart is just another store, a place to grab groceries or a pack of batteries and forget about it by the time you get home. But for the people who work there, those empty aisles hold something else. Something you can't see. Something that never clocks out. From the stalker who vanishes between shelves to the man who left a note that simply said, "See you tomorrow." Every story tonight was true, or at least as true as the people who told them believed. Maybe they all imagined it. Maybe it's just exhaustion, fluorescent lights, and too many hours alone at night. Or maybe there's something that lingers after the store closes. Something that watches through the cameras, walks the aisles when the lights go dim, picks up a receipt, and leaves a message behind. Next time you're in Walmart, look down one of those long, empty aisles. Listen for footsteps that don't match yours. And if you ever find a receipt with no total and a message at the bottom, don't read it, just leave. Because some customers never leave the store. They just wait for closing time. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed tonight's stories, make sure you're subscribed for more true horror every week. Until then, check your bag before you leave. You might find a receipt you don't remember getting. And it might say just one thing. See you soon.